how you doing? Just gonna hear me. So occasionally I'll meet somebody who I haven't seen since high school or college, and they'll ask me, "Oh, are you in medical? Are you a doctor now? Where are you practicing medicine?" Well, nowhere. I'm a teacher. Oh, really? Okay, I get that. That makes sense. Sometimes I'll run into somebody who I haven't seen for about 10 years, and they'll ask me, "How's the business going? You guys still, making these parts?" I don't know. I'm not involved in that anymore. I'm a teacher. And, again, I can see that. That works for you. I'm going to start my story right here. There it is. We've got a triplet of doofuses up here. I'm the one rocking the 80s knit tie there, and you may know this other one. So I was like a lot of you guys. I was pretty focused. I knew what I wanted to do. Okay? I wanted to go to a school that had a good biology program. I wanted to go into medicine or some aspect of that. And, I ended up going to UC Irvine. Everything was kind of nice. There's kind of UC Irvine days. I rode crew, did a bunch of stuff, graduated. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to medical school. That was my focus. And to preface it, during the days when I went to college in the days when you can actually pay your own way through a UC school. So in high school, I worked my own way through. We had a family business. My dad right there, he was an engineer. He's a really good engineer, and he kind of got the need or the desire to start his own business when I was in 8th grade. So from 9th grade, I worked pretty much every day after school, in the summers, in the business. In college, I worked in the summers, and it paid my way through school. It was great. After graduation, I decided I applied to medical school. The first go around, I did not get in. So I said, well, I'm going to keep working with the family business, just take a year, and I did. And my dad was trying to lure me away. Why do you not go to medical school? Why don't you work in the business? I'll give you this great offer and work, and be a team. And I said, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. Well, the next year, I ended up going for various medical school interviews, and I ended up getting accepted. And right around that time, my dad started having a mysterious illness that really we didn't know what was going on. Within the span of about 4 months, he went from perfectly healthy, having passed a physical with flying colors, to not being alive anymore. So I had a choice. He ended up having a really fast-moving cancer. So I had a really big decision in front of me, because this business that I was working at employed my brother, it employed my mother, and it employed about 30 other people that I had known since I was in 8th or 9th grade. I mean, there were a lot of families involved. I knew the business. It kind of came down to me at that point. I was 23 years old. I was asked, if you would like, you can take over the business. If not, we're going to figure out a way to liquidate it, and you can move on and continue to medical school. It was a big decision. And ultimately what I decided to do was take over the business. And I said, okay, I'll put the medical school stuff on hold, but I kind of knew that, well, maybe it would probably be on hold forever. Things that were going through my mind were, devotion to my family, devotion to people that I knew, but also thinking about, okay, I'm 23 years old. How often am I going to have an opportunity to inherit a business that was successful, that was cutting edge in what it did, Here's a little bit about it. The business started out as this company called Tovel Industries, and it later morphed under my control into something else called EPM Resources. And what the business did was it made components for satellites. So that's what I did for, gosh, at least 11 years I controlled his business. And it was difficult to do because my dad was kind of like a legend in the industry. Everybody knew him, everybody trusted him, everybody knew that he was a really talented engineer. And then here I was, this guy coming in, hey, how you doing? It was very hard to convince people to, well, keep working with us. But we did, I did, and the business remained successful. These parts that are here are small. They go into antenna systems of communication satellites. It's pretty involved. We had a nice little write-up in a magazine. This is about the company that I was with. This is me and my brother here. My brother was still involved with the business, and little gives you some pictures of it and what it was about. So I was doing this, but honestly, I was not that thrilled about it. As time wore on, it was like, oh gosh, I'm going here every day, doing this job. I'm seeing some success here, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do. But it was a virtual impossibility to extricate myself from this thing. And that's where we kind of come into the second aspect of what's going on. Right around the year 2000, and well, it was 2001, early in the year 2001, I started noticing weird things on me, these like lumps on my neck, okay? And I was getting married at the time, and I was heading away for a honeymoon. And I said, okay, I'm gonna get married, and our agreement was, when we get back from the honeymoon, I'll go and get them checked out. Went to the honeymoon, came back on a Sunday, on a Monday, went to the doctor, and found out immediately, virtually immediately, that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. And it's a type of cancer that can be controlled, can be taken care of, but it requires some pretty extensive chemotherapy, radiation treatment. There's a lot involved in there. That process was really crazy. I had to, well, first of all, obviously I couldn't work all the time and do that. I tried to for a little bit, and it was pretty impossible. After, like the chemotherapy, for those of you guys who aren't familiar, they pretty much pump you full of drugs that stop cell division. Okay, so they're destroying all these cells, they're keeping them from dividing, they're targeting other cells, and it was interesting. I mean, I'm a big guy, and when I would go there, they would hook you up with an IV with these drugs, and the first few times that I went there, the guys who were actually mixing the drugs were double, triple checking, because they were telling me that they've never given anybody this much. It's like, I would give this to somebody who was 5'5", the drug alone would kill them. So it was like, they were really careful. But what ended up happening was that I went through this as the chemotherapy wore on. I was unable to work at all. The days were crazy. It was like you'd have the treatment on, say, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You couldn't really get out of bed. You'd feel okay on Tuesday. You'd feel a little bit better on Wednesday. Then it starts over on the next Thursday. And did that. Did the radiation treatment after that. They basically go up to there's an X-ray pointed at you, and you're sitting there, and it's on you for like 5 minutes. So it's pretty crazy. And one of the weird stories about that was one point they gave me this card that if you had for me, if I had a fever that was above, I think it was 102, you have to go to the emergency room. They gave you a card to go right to the front of the line, like no waiting, just straight in. And one night I woke up and I had 103 fever. And I went to the emergency room, they brought me right in, and they brought me into an isolation chamber. So I was in an isolation chamber, doors closed, they did blood tests and found out my immune system, my white blood cell count was 0. My immune system was completely destroyed. I was in the middle of all these treatments. So I was in this isolation room. Doctor would come in all dressed up in this suit, and then they do blood tests, and we leave. anytime anybody came to me, they were dressed up in these suits in order to, I would imagine if I were exposed to anything at that point, probably would have killed me. And all of this made me think, okay, when I finish with this, I never had any doubt that I'd make it through all this. I mean, that's not my personality. I knew, okay, I'm going to be fine. I never really got down on what was going on with me. But I was thinking about the big picture. It's like, when I go back, do I really want to be sitting here in this business doing something that is not my passion, something that I really don't enjoy? It was my dad's, it was a variety of people's, it's my brother's, it's not mine. So I thought heavily about it. When I went back, I talked to my brother. I said, I'm really thinking of changing careers, doing something else. And began a 2-year process of extricating myself from this business. One of the things that I did also was, one of the first phone calls I made was to Mr. McClure. I knew he was a teacher, and I said, what do you think about me becoming a teacher? What's your opinion? Would I be good at this? What do you think? It's nice to have a sounding board with somebody if you're thinking of doing something different, somebody who's gone that pathway, that experience. And I ended up, over the course of a couple of years, working myself out of the business and, ending up here. It's a pretty crazy series of events. When I look at my brother, he's still involved in this thing. I mean, that's what he loves. This business, when I left it, the business got bought out by somebody else, and then that got bought out by somebody else, but I felt good about it. It was, when I left, we kind of downsized a little bit. All the families that I cared about that worked there, I worked really hard to make sure that if I downsized the business, which we did, I found jobs. I helped all of them find jobs. But it's one of those things that you may have your life planned out in your head. I think I'm going to be doing this. This is what I want to do. But things can happen. You don't know what they may be. And your direction may change. You're going to face some tough choices in your life. I mean, it's, who knows when they're going to occur. With my dad dying, that was sudden. I did not ever expect to take over that business. But when I look at where I'm at today, I think I'm in a great spot. When I look back at these decisions of doing these other things, there's no regrets at all in that. I mean, I look at where I stand today. Here's my family today. So I'm really, really happy with where I'm at, with what I'm doing. It's what I enjoy doing. It's what I love doing. And I think about these turning points that made me think about these things. So, just keep in mind, no matter how well set you think your goals are, there may be things that can happen in your life that change your course. But the important thing is to stick with